KB and JD podcast. Today we are continuing our talk about mental health, but today we're going to be focused on mental health in athletes and sports.
Yeah. So, what do you think is like the biggest thing, like for you, mental health wise? Like, what plays the biggest role? Is it coaches, teammates?
Um, Honestly, I'd have to say it's really a mix of everything, and it's different for everybody because sometimes the coach really is like the main person. But sometimes if you have a bad enough coach, they will make the teammates bad too. Like if the coach pins players against each other or like kind of separates them and stuff like that. I mean, I've had that happen multiple times with different coaches where the coach has an opinion of you and either he or she pushes that opinion of you onto the other players or kind of pins the players against each other. I feel like that happens often.
I feel like for me, it's like teammates because I feel like if you have a bad coach, but you have good leadership on the team and everybody on the team likes each other, it's easy to just
Mm-hmm.
not care about the coach. But if you have a great coach and all of your teammates are negative, it's so hard to
Yeah,
like
yeah,
continue to be positive because what do they say? Negativity is so contagious.
yeah,
So if you have one person complaining all the time, another person starts complaining, everyone's complaining, and now you're stuck.
yeah,
And I feel like it just takes a toll.
yeah. That's why I say it's like really both because it could be one or the other or both, like really bad. Um, I mean, just the arguments between teammates is really a big thing too. Just
Yeah,
happens too often. But
yeah.
a lot of that does come from like the coaching part because like if the team is generally like all gets along and then you start to notice that there's like changes in attitude and stuff like that, then it's most likely the coach is doing it.
Yeah.
um yeah, and then people just get irritated with certain things and then like they take that on out on other people. I feel like that's really where a lot of like the teammate stuff comes from. It's just frustrations that everybody shares and nobody knows how to really like release that
And it comes from
negative
like a
energy.
lack of like culture too. Like if
Yeah,
your program has no type of like culture, then there's nothing to build on. So
yeah,
it's like because
yeah,
the people who come before you usually impact how you are and how you act. So if the people before you are like they don't care, they're negative, then when you come, you're not going to care and you're going to be negative and the next people that come. So I feel like it's just
yeah.
it's a big like it's a lot of different things that go into that.
And I do hear a lot of people talk about like coaches ruining sports for them. I feel like that is such a
Yeah.
big thing and it's like worldwide.
Yeah.
It's like a national thing, international thing, just coaches ruining the sport for players because either they're on a power trip or they don't really know what they're doing or they don't know how to connect with their players and the
Or they're
people
just
that they're coaching
bad
or that. Yeah.
coaches. Because you can be a great, like I like to say, you can be a great trainer. You can be really good at like showing me how to do and like, or how to do, showing me what to do and like how to become better.
Mm-hmm.
But when it comes down to coaching, coaching is not like the same thing as just training someone. Coaching is so many different like aspects.
Mm-hmm.
Like you can't coach everyone the same. You can train everyone the same. You can tell everybody to go run down and back, but you have to coach differently. Like in a game, you can't yell at your every player the same way because everyone's not going to respond the same way. So I think some coaches aren't built for coaching,
Mm-hmm.
and then they think they are, and they're just not.
Yeah.
And then it ruins it because it's like they don't know how to talk to you.
Yeah.
They don't like how you talk to them, and it's just
And then I feel like that also like plays into like emotional abuse is because a lot of coaches nowadays think like, oh, like in order to get my players to listen, like I just have to scream at them and I have to yell at them and I have to be so mean and harsh and this and that. But a lot of people really learn from a gentle like, let me tell you how to do this. If you don't understand it, ask questions. Don't feel afraid to ask questions type of coach. Like, I mean, some people might work better with a coach or don't care if a coach yells at them. I mean, like me personally, a coach could yell at me. I don't care. That's not going to change anything. It's what you're saying. to me. But some people can't really handle that. So, but a lot of coaches nowadays kind of like
I don't even think it's just now. I
overdo
think
it.
that's always been
I
a thing.
mean, yeah, but I feel like it's more like I feel like it's been normalized more.
I think that we just have media now.
Yeah.
Because when people were coaching, like my parents' generation, there was nobody recording them posting on the internet.
Yeah.
I think that's the only difference. I think the coaching is the same, and I think it's completely different, like male and female. I feel like male sports, they get emotionally abused at a higher, especially football, like a much higher percentage. But a lot of football players will argue that it's like a dog eat dog sport. So it's like you have to have that. So some people argue that um, in those types of sports, in those like super aggressive um, sports, you have to have that type of, I guess, emotional abuse. Um, some people just don't call it that, but that's what it looks like. And also physical abuse sometimes. Yeah. And like, I just don't understand why you're cussing a little 7-year-old out on a football field.
Yeah. I feel like I would have to kind of disagree with that. I don't think that men are necessarily more emotionally abused because maybe it's just like from what I've been through, but I feel like it's pretty equal now at least. Because I feel like a lot of the like like a lot of the customs from men's sports have been like kind of like fed into women's sports. But I mean, from personal experience, I think that it's really just like both are pretty equal nowadays. I mean, I had a coach where he literally was like, he wanted us to be boys. He would literally treat us like men, and if we did anything like feminine,
but that comes down
he would
to like
always
personal like coaching experience. I'm saying as a whole, I think if you take women's sports and men's sports, I'm not saying it's a big difference, but I'm just saying from what I've heard from my male counterparts, like it's much worse from their experiences than when I talk to the girls that I know. So I think that it definitely depends. Like personally, like I've had some very crazy coaches, but some of them still don't compare to the worst coaches that I know some of my football, and it really is just football.
Yeah. But I feel like I have really like seen a lot of females experience, and I feel like it's equal in the amount and like the aggressiveness that like we're experiencing it at, but it's just the tactics are different. I mean, obviously everybody's different, but the way that men or like male sports are emotionally abused is different than the way that females are, but I think it's still at the same level.
Yeah, what do you think the difference is?
I feel
or what do you consider, I guess, emotional abuse?
Because I mean, if you think about it, I mean, I know that like men's sports, like obviously if you're out of shape, like your coach is gonna tell you like stuff like that. But women's sports, coaches will tell you, "Oh, you're fat. Oh, this and that." Like they
tell
I feel like
that too, though.
I know that, but it's like I feel like it's on a higher rate for women, and it's also like a lot of the times when women are told like stuff about their weight and their looks, it doesn't different. Actually, yeah, it's different. Well, it does, but it doesn't actually.
To a woman's brain to
yeah, because I mean, obviously we're all wired different, but it's more along the lines of like what you. I feel like when women's looks are or weight or anything like that are commented on by coaches, which is usually male coaches that comment on women's bodies, which is crazy to me, but it's less to do with your sport and more to do with what you actually look like. Like men's sports, if they're told something about their weight or this or that, like
why do you usually think that?
Because like football players, if you play a certain position, like
I know, but why do you think about the women, like
because like a lot of coaches will. Personal experience again. When I was a freshman in high school, my coaches told me I wasn't thick enough.
For what sport?
Soccer.
Oh, so you need more muscle?
But
because I was told that too, and I took it as I needed more muscle, which was a fact.
I mean, it's here and there, but we had male coaches, and I mean, they did it to a lot of the girls on the team. There's one girl, she was like the most in shape one on the team. They told her that she needed to lose weight, knowing that she had an eating disorder. Like she was literally the most fit person on the team. But like when a lot of male coaches comment on like females' bodies, a lot of it doesn't actually have to do with like, I mean, your sport really, I feel like. Because like if a male coach is telling you like, oh, like you need to do this, you need to do that, most women's sports, like you could really have, I don't want to say like a any physique. I mean, obviously you have to be in shape, but if you're in shape, like your physique really shouldn't matter too much on like what you're doing. I mean, soccer players, we have all types of different builds. As long as you're strong, you have a certain amount of speed, endurance, whatever, then you should be good. Which I had all of those. They were just like, oh, like you need to be thicker, this and that. Like it wasn't anything about muscle. I was one of the strongest ones on the team. I just was skinny as hell.
I guess maybe I'm just like, I feel like sometimes it's necessary to comment on. And I know, because I mean, everybody knows, like, you tell a man he's fat, completely different than if you tell a woman she's fat. Everybody knows that. It's literally just a different mindset, right? But I feel like sometimes, and again, it depends on the circumstances, obviously, but I feel like sometimes it's necessary and sometimes people blow it out of proportion. Because, I mean, I feel like if a coach is doing too much now, if you tell someone, oh, you need to gain weight, you need to lose weight, you need to tell them not only why, you need to tell them what weight they need to lose. Because you can't just say, if they're, there's body fat, like you need to tell them what percentage they need to be at, this and that. You can't just tell them lose weight. So I feel like sometimes it's necessary to do that if you want to perform at the highest levels, obviously. Yeah. But I feel like, again, when I was talking about the 7-year-old getting cussed out on the sideline, we shouldn't be introducing those things at a super young age, because the sport isn't, you're trying to have fun. Yeah. And I feel like that's just almost discouraging.
I feel like it's all sports, because really it's just like all sports are very, like at a young age, they're all like that now. Like they take it,
people are you have to take
it seriously. Yeah, but they almost take it too seriously. Why are 5-year-olds over here fighting on the field? Who is teaching these 5-year-olds to fight on the field? Yeah. That's not okay. Like
I don't even know why it's getting so competitive so young. Like I have no idea.
Because people want their kids to be the best, but it's like there's a difference between, right? But there's also a difference between emotionally and mentally abusing your kids and teaching them like discipline. But again, we should not be teaching 5, 6, 7, even 8-year-olds this stuff. I really don't think that any like super competitiveness should start till like 9 or 10, because that's when you start. That's when you start. School. But that's when you start club sports. Usually, is around 9 or 10.
I say middle school though, because that's when your adolescent brain starts to change. Yeah. So it's like, I feel like that's a good age to start if you want to be competitive. Now, you shouldn't be making your child be competitive. That doesn't make sense to me. If they don't want to compete, that's another thing I really don't like to see, parents making their kids compete after a certain age. Because it's like, if they don't want to do that and they have something else they enjoy doing. Yeah. Now, don't let them, they don't really need to be sitting in the house doing nothing, but it's like, if they have something they enjoy, why are you pushing sports?
For me, I feel like if I were to have kids, I would really push for them to compete in something when they're younger, so then they have the opportunity.
Yeah, I want my kids to try everything.
But like people always tell me, they're like, "Oh, like you're gonna make your kids do sports?" Yes,
because I'm not.
Because I don't want my kids to be out of shape when they're younger.
But like, you can work out, but you don't have to play sports.
But I just feel like how I grew up, like for my love of sports, that's how I want my kids to be. And I feel like when people look at it as like like when they look at like making your kids participate in sports, they look at it as a bad thing. I feel like that really just comes from like what they experience in sports. Because for me, it's like, I'm going to support my kids. I'm going to let them do whatever sport they want to do, but I'm going to put them in those sports so they can have fun. Because for me, that's the biggest thing with playing sports, is having fun. So,
but what if they're not having fun?
Try something else. But
what if they want my kids? That's what I'm saying. I'm going to allow my kids to try everything. My thing is like,
also little kids, like toddlers and like really young kids, they don't really like know yet like what they want to do. So like when my kid is young, I'm gonna have them doing sports.
No, I agree with
because
that, but I'm saying,
I want them
at what point is it like okay, maybe they don't like this sport, or
Well,
I'm gonna make them try something. Like, what if they're trying everything, they don't like it? I know so many parents who it's like they keep pushing. Your child does not want to play sports. Like, they keep pushing. Just put them in. Say, hey, if you don't want to play a sport, you have to work out 3 times a week. If you don't want to play a sport, you have to do this. Give them an ultimatum, but don't, like, I don't understand the
But
pushing.
I feel like at that point it's just like too much of like coaching. Like, I feel like if you put your kids in sports, and I want to put my kids in multiple sports when they're young, because that's what my parents did with me. So like they can grow up with multiple options, and then once they get to a certain point, they can decide, oh, like I really like this, or oh, I don't really like this as much. So then they can pursue what they want to pursue. But it's like if you put your kids in sports at a young age and you encourage them and you're there for them and like you're proud of them and all of this, and you show them like how positive the sport can be, then they're not going to get burnt out. That's or they're not going to like
I just
not want to do sports at all.
I disagree, because sports is a hobby. That's like me saying I could encourage you, like something you don't maybe like doing, read. I could say I could encourage you in hey, here's another book, try different, and I could encourage you and I can be positive, but if you don't like it, you're not gonna want to do it. So I disagree.
But if you start at a young age, I promise you, if I started reading at a young age,
and I'm speaking from personal, like seeing people, because my parents work in the fitness industry, so I watch so many positive, uplifting parents. Hey, try this, try this, try this. They're so positive and they're so encouraging. Their kid does not want to play sports. Sports is a hobby. It's not something that everyone wants to do, and they start from a young age. My sister, positive, 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 positive. We will literally give her rewards for going to practice, doing stuff, like everything. She does not want to play sports because it's just not something she likes. So I feel like you have to know your child. Like, if your child just doesn't want to do that, pushing it, I think, along with mental health, that's not good for a child's mental health. And I say that because I've seen it happen so many times, and I feel like so many people just push. Like, obviously, I want my kids to play sports. Like, I had the same experience as you. I played so many different sports when I was younger, and then eventually I was like, okay, I like this one more than this one. I'll do this one, and I never really got burnt out of anything because it wasn't like a bad experience. But I can see it being different for other people, and I wouldn't want my child to feel forced to do anything that they didn't want to do.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's really different for everybody because, like, based on my experiences, like, that's how I would raise my children. Like, that's how I would have them kind of get into sports. But I feel like the whole like hobby thing, like, it comes down to, I think, nowadays a lot of the reason that kids do get burnt out is because their parents make it more of a chore or a job instead of a hobby. Well, my parents always kept it at, if you're having fun, then you do it. Like, then that's what you want to do. Like, if you're not having fun, then like my little sister, she played soccer from the time that she was 5 until she was like 10, and then she liked basketball more than she liked soccer. So now she plays basketball. And she's had her moments. Same with me and my sister with soccer. She's had her moments where she doesn't really want to play basketball anymore, but then she doesn't do it, and she realizes, I really miss it. I really do like to play basketball. So I feel like it really depends on like the environment that the kids grow up playing sports in.
I think it has to do with personality.
Yeah. But I feel like it's just like you don't really know until they get older. Because, like,
middle school
you're not
age.
Gonna know.
I would say middle school age. My sister's middle school age.
Yeah. But it's just like, your kid's not gonna have a athletic personality at 5 years old.
No, I'm not saying athletic personality. That's not what I was saying. I was saying a personality to thrive in an athletic competition. Some people don't have that. Some people aren't competitive in that way.
Yeah.
And so, how are you going to play a sport and not be competitive? It's not fun anymore. If you genuinely don't care, it's not fun. So it's like, it's definitely a personality thing. And the best people in the world that are the best at their sports, they all have the same personality.
But do you think that like having a competitive personality can be like planted in a kid if they start like young? Because I think that's where my competitive personality came from, because I started young.
But
so if you start young,
I also think it's something that you just have.
Yeah.
Because like I said, personal experience. My sister grew up my parents did the exact same thing. My sister is not competitive in that way. She doesn't care. But when it comes down to a science competition or a STEM competition, she cares. So it's like, I don't know if it's competitive personality so much or if it's like what you want to be competitive about and what you care about. So some people just don't care about a ball sport because it's a ball. Like some people look at it like literally it's a ball. Like it's a ball we're kicking in that. Woohoo! What the heck is the point?
Yeah.
And then other people, I'm like, well, what is the point of taking 100-page science test and seeing who gets the best grade? I couldn't be competitive in that way because that's not.
Yeah.
I don't see the point. So I feel like some people it's just different. Yeah. So how do you feel like, do you think injuries play a part in mental health of an athlete?
I feel like it really depends. Personally, I don't think that it really affects me. I've had a few injuries in the past, but I don't think that it really like directly affects an individual's mental health. I think that it's kind of like there's layers to it. I think that it can in the long run, but I don't think that injuries directly like affect or like like create like mental health issues for athletes.
Yeah, I think it just depends on when the injury happened and what injury it is, how much time off. Because I think sometimes when athletes have a sport being such a big part of their life and then it's basically taken from them like for a period of time, there can be some seasonal issues.
Yeah.
So I think it just depends.
I feel like that kind of plays into like the perception of performance on mental health because people don't tell athletes enough that it's okay to take breaks and like it's okay to not have your sport. And I feel like a lot of athletes feel like if I'm not playing my sport, I'm not living, or like they think if I do bad or I don't succeed in my sport, I'm worthless or I don't mean as much as I should. I'm not doing what I need to be doing. Like if an athlete isn't succeeding or performing to a certain standard, they beat themselves up over it. And I feel like that's just like kind of how society has put like sports onto players.
Yeah, I agree. I think also some people have so much pressure on them and like their sport, your sport, college athletes, your sport might pay for your school. And without that, you can't get an education. Without an education, you can't get the job you want. So I think sometimes it's just like an overwhelming amount of pressure on your performance. And nobody tells you it's okay to take a day or two off and sit down and do something for yourself. Like, but and then also athletes feel bad. I remember I used to feel like rest days used to be the hardest part of my routine. That used to be the hardest, like, because my dad trained us, for the majority of my life, along with other coaches. It wasn't just him, but I remember he would always say you have to have one rest day a week, and that was the hardest day of the week for me because I did not want to. Why am I sitting down not doing anything? I felt like I could be doing anything. And sometimes I would go do some core or something. I would just be like, I feel like I'm losing something, but you're not. Your body has to recover. You have to take days off. Your brain, your mental needs to recover.
I feel like rest is like it's like 50-50 for me because I would take days off, but it was more of like I've always known like to take days off. Like that's always been a thing for me. And I think that's just because I would run a lot, and that was just part of our workout plan. And just like the weekends are a day to relax. Like you play, next day you don't have to do anything. Like that was just kind of how it went for us. But also at the same time, I wasn't really giving myself enough rest for what I was doing because I would literally wake up like during high school and middle school. I would wake up, go to cross country, go to school all day, go to school soccer, go to club soccer, do homework till like midnight or 1, wake up, 5 a.m., repeat. And then I would have games and tournaments and all this, like stacked and stacked and stacked. So like I wasn't really taking enough rest, but I would take 1 or 2 days off. But nobody ever told me like it's okay to sit back and just chill for a little bit. Like my senior year, I didn't play soccer, but I felt like I wasn't doing enough because I wasn't doing as much as I was before. And I think that's when I really realized like it's okay to not be ripping and running 24/7. Like I don't have to be doing this and that and 20,000 other things.
Yeah.
So, but I feel like the whole performance thing kind of comes from the fact that people think that players have to be mentally tough, and they always tell them like that they can't. They tell them that taking breaks is weak and this and that, and the mental toughness thing really
Or
plays a
playing through
toll.
injuries. I've had a few coaches who it's like, oh, that hurts, play through it.
Yeah.
Your body is literally giving you a sign. It's saying, hey, stop.
Right.
Oh, here's another sharp pain. Stop. And your coach is telling you, go. And then you have a big injury and now you're out.
Yeah. And it's, a lot of players get that like from the fact that people tell them they need to be tough.
Mhm.
That pain is
That's why
it's just a mentality.
I have always thought like, oh, until I actually saw the science behind why your body is telling you certain things, I've always thought like, oh, that's nothing. And I'll literally try, like even this season, I literally I could not walk and I was trying to play games. I was fighting my trainer every day trying to go in the game. And looking back, I'm like, was it that serious? Like, did I need to play that badly? I couldn't walk after games to the bus and I wanted to play.
Yeah, I used to be that way when I was younger, but now, I mean, I'm in kinesiology, so I really look at like the nitty gritty.
Now that I'm seeing it, I'm like,
but I mean now, but I've always been the person where if I'm sore or I'm tired, I'm gonna go easier. I'm not gonna sit here and like bang it out because like no, I'm not. But I have played through injuries before. But I'm also the type like I know the extent of my injury, so if I just roll my ankle and I have a slight ankle sprain, I'm gonna tape it and play. Yeah. But if it's way worse than that, I'm not playing. If I can barely move, I'm not playing. So
yeah,
but I feel like it just comes from the fact that people tell kids
mentally tough
to be mentally tough. Oh, push through it, this and that. Like
you got kids passing out.
Right.
That doesn't make sense.
But I'd rather pass out than throw up. So
it just doesn't make sense either way.
Right. But you shouldn't be having to
You shouldn't have kids passing out because they need to be mentally tough and they need to run through. Keep going.
Right. Right. It's just that affects kids so poorly that and it ends up affecting every aspect of their life.
I was about to say that.
Because like even now, if you look at adults, they're over here working till death, like literally working their whole lives, being sad. Like that's not. We shouldn't be teaching our kids to grow up and do that. No. Like that's not at all what we should be teaching them. So, but how important do you feel like mental health education is for athletes specifically?
Super important. And I think the NCAA needs to do something, whether it be a course that student athletes can take to learn more about themselves and what they're going through and how to navigate different feelings and things that go on in sports, or whether it just be like, hey, a couple hours a week you have to go see the sports psychologist. What's it called? Psychologist. Because we have that, and I think we're required to have that. And if not, I think most schools do have it, but it's not pushed. We're not told about, like, I haven't received any information on it, and I don't think a lot of people have. So I feel like
I didn't even know that we had a sports psychologist here. So
yeah, I think that's super important.
And then our counseling doesn't answer. And I think it really is like the school, the conference, the program, the NCAA itself, NAIA itself, JUCO itself. They need to be the ones really like pushing more for mental health help and education in students, in athletes specifically, because we really go through it hard, um, because of the standards that we're put through. But I feel like that is the root of all the issues.
Yeah, just not knowing.
Yeah.
You just don't know. You just don't know what's happening in your own brain, and it's like you don't know how to navigate these things that you're going through.
Right.
And then you have nobody to talk to because
Right.
they're not telling us we
Right.
have anyone to
Right.
talk to.
Right. But if we were to learn what all of these different mental health issues look like and how to identify them, then people would be able to understand where the issues are coming from.
Yeah.
And being able to identify if they are struggling before
that's the only way to
something
fix
happens.
things. I mean, if you don't know what's going on, how are you
Yeah.
supposed to fix it?
Right.
So,
but that's the thing, is the NCAA and all of these other like divisions and conferences and whatnot and organizations, they don't do something until something happens. There's too many athletes taking their lives, and no one does anything until they take their lives. They should be proactive in looking at the players that are affected now, so that doesn't happen. We've lost too many players in every different sport in the last year.
Yeah, and that's why I said the
It's
NCAA,
unacceptable,
because
right.
I keep seeing every time I see another student athlete on the news, what's next to them? The blue circle with the
Right.
NCAA in it. I'm like, again?
Right.
And that's why I say the NCAA, because I haven't, and I don't know for sure, but the things I've seen on the news, it's NCAA every time.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
But that's just like, it's the biggest, broadest.
Yeah.
So that's where the majority of
They need
athletes
to do
play.
something.
So they need,
But they profit off athletes so much,
but give nothing back to
and
us.
give nothing back. I don't. It's a
The
business.
least you could do is make sure we're healthy,
Right.
physically and mentally. Y'all kind of do it physically.
I would say
like
they kind
really
of do
mentally.
try to do it physically, but when it comes down to mental health, it's just
right. But the thing is that they don't notice is that a lot of the physical attributes
come from your mental. Yeah.
Yep.
So
there just needs to be a lot of change on every level to help students and student athletes with their mental health. So
I agree.
But yeah, I think that's all we have to say on that topic for now, at least.
I don't know. I could put some more, but maybe not today.
Right, for now. But yeah, that's all for today. Come back next Friday. We will have a special guest in the video. So yeah, go to our Instagrams to see who it is. We will be putting it out there later on. But yeah. Bye.